You know the device you're watching this on? The coffee in your mug? Pretty much everything in the room with you. Chances are it all got here on a ship. A staggering 90% of everything we buy travels by sea. But right now, that entire absolutely vital industry is in the middle of a massive crisis. And here's the paradox. That very crisis is forcing one of the oldest industries on Earth to go through a sudden, and I mean sudden, high-tech revolution. Yeah, for decades, having the latest tech in shipping was, a nice to have. It was a way to get a little bit of an edge over the competition. Well, not anymore. Today, it's a completely different ballgame. It is quite literally about survival. If these companies aren't using advanced AI and automation, they're not just falling behind, they're at real risk of going under.
So, what is going on? What's causing all this chaos? Well, let's dive into the pressures that have cooked up this perfect storm for the entire industry.
Okay, it really boils down to three huge problems hitting all at once. First, there are just way too many ships out there. Second, the global demand for stuff, it's slowing down. There's just not enough cargo to fill all those ships. And third, you've got geopolitical chaos just throwing a wrench in everything. From conflicts in the Red Sea to new trade tariffs, it's scrambling old routes and piling on the costs. And look, this chart right here shows you the heart of the problem in two simple bars. The global fleet of ships is growing by a massive 8.2% a year, but the demand for shipping, it's only growing at about 3 to 4%. I mean, that's not just a little gap, right? That is a huge fundamental economic imbalance that is rocking the entire industry to its core.
And you know what happens in basic economics when supply just blows past demand? Prices crater. Freight rates are falling, and that's squeezing profits to the bone. So what you have is this absolutely brutal environment where companies are in a desperate, frantic race to slash costs and become as hyper-efficient as technology will allow.
And this has led to a really profound shift in how the whole market even works. You see, the old shipping world, it ran on a rhythm, on these predictable cycles. You had your holiday rush, then your slow season. Well, that's all over. We're now in what the source material calls a data-driven equilibrium. What that means is that AI and real-time data have gotten so good at optimizing everything that they've smoothed out all those little seasonal bumps. The only thing that moves the needle now is a massive, unpredictable shock. We're talking a war, a pandemic, something huge. So you've got this massive crisis, right? But it's also acting as this incredibly powerful catalyst. Because when your survival is on the line, you are forced to innovate. So let's look at the solution that's now coming into focus. This number really says it all. $20.8 billion. That's how big the market for AI and logistics is this year. This isn't some niche little experiment happening in a corner. This is a massive industry-wide wave of investment. And it's all aimed at one thing, making shipping smarter, faster, and cheaper. And the speed of this change, it is just breathtaking. Since 2020, this market has been growing on average by a whopping 45.6% every single year. That is absolutely explosive growth. And it just goes to show you how urgently this industry is turning to AI to solve its most fundamental problems. All right, so we've covered the why, but how? How exactly is AI changing the game on a day-to-day basis? Let's open up the AI playbook and see what's inside. Well, one of the biggest impacts isn't something that sounds boring but is so critical: forecasting. By crunching just enormous amounts of data, we're talking weather patterns, port congestion, even social media trends, AI is helping companies slash their forecasting errors by 30 to 50%. And what does that mean? It means less wasted fuel, less empty cargo space, and massive, massive savings.
And then you have this incredible concept called digital twins. It's wild. Companies are literally building complete virtual copies of their real-world supply chains. And with that, they can run simulations. What if a major port shuts down tomorrow? What if a key supplier gets hit by a hurricane? They can test it all out and figure out the best way to respond before any of it actually happens. It's all about building resilience in what's become a very chaotic world.
And look, the results, they're not theoretical, they are real, and they are measurable. We're seeing things like a 65% drop in lost sales because stuff is actually in stock. We're seeing a 30% increase in just raw operational capacity. This isn't some promise for the future. This is real-world value being created right now. So what about all that talk of fully autonomous ghost ships sailing the seas? Well, the reality, for now, is actually way more interesting. The real value today is coming from AI-powered systems that act as a kind of super smart co-pilot for the human crew on the bridge. These systems boost their awareness, they spot dangers humans might miss, and they drastically cut down on near-miss incidents. The story has totally shifted from replacing humans to empowering them. But, and this is a huge but, this frantic rush into a digital future has cracked open a brand new and potentially catastrophic vulnerability. The solution has, in fact, created a whole new problem. Okay, to really get the risk here, we have to talk about two acronyms, IT and OT. Think of IT, information technology, as the ship's brain. It's the planning software, the finance systems. Then you have OT, operational technology. That's the muscle, the physical systems that actually control the navigation, the steering, the engines. For decades, these two worlds were completely separate. Now, in this race for efficiency, they are being connected together. Let me put it another way. The simplest way to think about this is that it's like taking the steering wheel and the engine controls of a massive container ship and plugging them directly into the internet. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And the industry is definitely waking up to this threat. The maritime cybersecurity market is projected to hit $11.4 billion by 2035. This isn't just about protecting customer data anymore. No, this is about protecting the physical ships, the multi-million-dollar cargo, and of course, the people on board. And the threats out there are sophisticated and, frankly, pretty scary. We're talking about AI-powered phishing attacks that are almost impossible for a person to spot. We're talking about GPS spoofing that can literally trick a ship's navigation system and send it steaming straight into danger. It's a whole new world of risk. So you've got this incredible technology, and you have these terrifying new threats. But what's the single biggest barrier to navigating this new future? Well, it turns out it's not the tech, it's us. The reality on the ground is that these organizations are really struggling. They're trying to bolt cutting-edge AI onto ancient, creaky legacy systems. There's a massive shortage of people who actually understand both shipping and data science. And maybe the biggest hurdle of all, in an industry that's centuries old, an industry built on tradition, there is a deep, deep-rooted cultural resistance to this kind of radical, fast-paced change. Okay, so given this wild landscape of incredible opportunity on one side and immense risk on the other, what is the way forward? How does this industry actually navigate this new reality? Well, the analysis really points to 4 clear imperatives for survival. First, you have to prioritize total end-to-end visibility of your supply chain. Second, you've got to double down and use AI relentlessly to drive every ounce of efficiency you can. Third, cybersecurity has to be a board-level C-suite priority, not just some IT issue. And finally, maybe the most important one, you have to invest in your people, in new skills, and in building a culture that can actually thrive in this new world. And all this really brings us to a final, bigger question. The shipping industry is a fascinating case study in how a crisis can light a fire under innovation. But as these digital connections create both unbelievable efficiency and, at the same time, existential risk, you have to wonder, is the biggest challenge really mastering the technology? Or is it mastering ourselves and our own ability to adapt to the complex world we're busy creating with it?